New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring. New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
New Thought Media Network is excited to present Divine Science Everywhere, Fridays at 2 p.m. Mountain Time and 4 p.m. Eastern. Come explore a modern experience of divine science with Reverend Joy Fletcher, Reverend Jeff Radcliff, and Bishop Durrell Watkins. Join us as we open our eyes to divine science everywhere we look. Fridays on New Thought Media Network.
Welcome to Divine Science Everywhere. Divine Science Everywhere features Divine Science ministers and New Thought guests as we discuss the principles and practice of divine science. I'm Reverend Joy Fletcher, and some people know me as Reverend Joyful. And some of the ways that I express ministry is by guest speaking at various churches, presenting end-of-life education and grief support, as well as I am the president of Divine Science Ministers Association.
And hi, I'm Reverend Jeff, and glad to be here. Co-host not only of Divine Science Everywhere with Reverend Joy and Bishop Durrell, but I also co-host Friday Fireside Chat with Reverend Michael Mangus. You'll find me there tonight, 8 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. And if you know Reverend Michael, you also know that he is the pastor of Summit Spiritual Center in Akron, Ohio. And by the magic of Zoom, I will be delivering their message this Sunday. So you can go there at 10. I believe it's 10:30 on Monday morning. It's 10:30 Eastern, 9:30 Central. So look for me there. Also, find me on Facebook. GiatiMinistries.org is the website, but Facebook Giati Ministries, GIATI. God is all there is.
And I'm Durrell Watkins. I'm the senior minister of the Sunshine Cathedral, but I also express ministry as a vaudevillian comic, a burlesque fan dancer, and as the chaplain on staff at many bars in the area. I'm so happy to be one of the co-hosts of this show. I'm also the co-host of another show on another network called The Queer God Squad. I am a frequent anchor on another show called Queer News Tonight. And our Sunday services, our 10:30 service anyway, is live streamed at Sunshine Cathedral every week on both Facebook and YouTube. So we got a lot going on, but one of my favorite hours of the week is this hour, Divine Science Everywhere, right here, 4 p.m. Eastern every single Friday. And one of the things I love about doing this every week is that before we get too deep into conversation or whatnot, we get to take a moment of just reflection and quiet, sort of guided meditation. And that's always led by Reverend Joy, which is about to happen right now.
Thank you. All right, my friends. Let's take a moment now and take a breath together. And gently exhale. And again. And exhale. So I encourage you to let your shoulders soften. Your breath deepen. And turn your awareness inward to the presence that is always there. In fact, that presence isn't just within us, it's around us, above us, below us, behind and front, within everything. Omnipresence. The omnipresence that is divine, which is love, which is life, which is wisdom. This is a reminder that these aspects or attributes of the divine are always available to us. And we have the ability to focus on that, on those attributes, and recenter ourselves and feel that presence and that peace that is ours, that is from the divine. So today, let's focus on the truth of our at one minute. It's the living realization that we are not separate from our source, from God, from the divine, from the beloved, but rather we are that presence in expression as the one life, the one mind, and one love. This is the core of divine science teaching, the omnipresence that is all good, that is perfect life, perfect love, and perfect substance. Some of our divine science teachers have shared things such as there is but one mind, and we live and move and have our being in this one mind, which is good. That's the essence of our at one. We don't reach toward God. In fact, we live in God. And we have the ability, the gift, to turn our attention to this presence in which we live and move and have our being. As in Romans 8:39, nothing can separate us from the love of God. We live and move and have our being in this essence, not something that we have to strive for, but rather to recognize and affirm and allow ourselves to experience this. Sometimes we are tempted by the circumstances in our lives, by other personalities, sometimes our own personality, to forget that we live and move and have our being in this presence, this omnipresence, which is absolute good. We have the ability to consciously remember our at one-ness with the source, with this truth. Nothing that is God, the attributes, are far away from us. And yet, It feels like it sometimes in our own mind and in our own circumstances. Instead, let us choose to stay when we serve. Serve the higher vibration, the higher awareness, the higher realization of our at-one-ment with our source, divine love, divine love. And if this be true for us, as it is, it's also true for everyone and everything in our lives. And sometimes that too is difficult to remember. But we have the ability with every single thought, every single breath, to begin again and claim our at-one-ment with our source of love, source of peace, source of light, source of connection, source of peace and harmony. Our circumstances may appear to be the same, but we are ever expanding into our awareness of God, the good, omnipresent. So let us carry forth this truth, this wisdom, this gift of knowing our at-one-ment with God as love. So today, let us express gratitude for all of the opportunities that present themselves that help us to remember who and what we are. The divine expressing through us, as us, and for us, and for one another. Thank you. And so it is, and so it is.
Nice. Thank you, Reverend Joy. We have got some interesting discussion coming up, some important discussion. We've been talking, last week we talked about some doctrines, or at least divine science interpretation of Christian doctrines. Last week we did 3, and we're going to do 3 more today. But first, got a little business to do. So we want to remind you that we are Divine Science Everywhere here on the New Thought Media Network.
Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hefferland Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Kitchener, Unity Spiritual Center Ottawa, Om Center for Spiritual Living, Satya Center, Begin Within Ministries, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and the Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. Thank you for being part of the New Thought Media Network. Please like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring.
Welcome back. Well, today, one of the topics of conversation is at-one-ment, Now, some of you might know this term in a traditional Christian theological way. And that approach refers to the process by which humanity is reconciled in God and restoring a relationship that's been damaged by sin. Now, this is rooted in the belief that separation exists between God and humanity, and somehow that separation must be repaired. But we in New Thought see that differently. We look at that word, atonement, as at one meant. And traditional atonement is like solving the separation, and divine science or New Thought at one meant talks about that the separation is actually an illusion. Unity already exists. And it is a gift for us to remember that, to know that we are already at one with our source or God. There's no need to repair a rupture, a relationship. It was never broken. We just created that separation in our own mind, getting caught up in day-to-day things, personality disagreements, maybe look at our bank account or our body, and we think that we need to appease to some guy in the sky that's sitting on a throne judging us. Yeah. But that's not the way we think about that. Mm-hmm. That God is not a man sitting up there judging you any more than he or she or it is Santa Claus. You know, if you're good, that you'll get certain things for Christmas, and if you do this, then certain rewards will happen in your life. Instead, it's all about the relationship that exists, the realization of our unity with God, the good, omnipotent. So as long as Nona Brooks says in Short Lessons in Divine Science, as long as we believe that God sends suffering, we will consider trouble, disease, and hardship is inevitable. But when we come to know the truth of God's omnipresence and our oneness with that presence, we begin to understand something far deeper. God doesn't inflict challenges upon us. In fact, why would the divine inflict difficulties upon itself, its creation? Why? If God is all, and all is an expression of the one whole, then nothing and no one stands outside the infinite to be punished or harmed. Our difficulties don't come from God. They arise from the belief in separation, from the dimming of our awareness of our divine identity. As Nona Brooks wrote, life is not a struggle. It's only a lack of consciousness that makes the struggle in living. Now, we do all have challenges. We do. And we didn't do anything wrong. The way to meet the challenges is to open ourselves to the realization of this divine, comforting, sustaining, loving presence that we dwell in. And our circumstances may appear to be the same on the outside, but what's important is what's on the inside. I'm having a memory right now. I remember I had a little plaque years ago, and it was a picture of a painted apple, and a little worm was sticking out a little hole there. And the saying said, "It's what's inside that counts."
Right.
So it's what's inside us that counts. Not the circumstances, but the essence of who we are. And we live in and move and have our being in this divine essence, no matter what. And as our consciousness awakens, deepens to our unity with the divine, the struggle dissolves. It's not so difficult. We know that no matter what the circumstance, we are not alone, and we can be at peace and comforted and know that we are provided for in so many ways. So we have the opportunity to challenge our outlook and remember our at-one-ment with our source, with God. And how we perceive God makes a difference. If we perceive God as, again, some judge, then we may fear retribution or punishment, but that's not our understanding. Yes, we are all accountable for everything that we do, think, see. However, we begin again at every single moment. Every moment is golden. It's an opportunity to know that we live and move and have our being in this essence. And that divine is expressing as us, through us, and around us. And so it is.
What do you want? Feedback?
Or what is this? Like Divine Science Everywhere show?
Yeah, what is it? What is it? A chat show? What do you want? Some conversation? This is no, I love that. I think that I don't think it sets us apart from the intention, but I do think it sets us apart from the common interpretation that we are talking about at one. We're not trying to bridge a gap. We're trying to wake up to the truth that there is no gap. That is what atonement at one means for us. Because if God is omnipresent, there's no gap. If God is omnipresence, if God is the one presence, where are we going to go? Like, where's God going to be that's not with us? Where are we going to go? How can we be lost? How can we hide? So now you don't have to believe in omnipresence. I mean, we're at choice at what we believe. But if you believe in omnipresence, then damnation, not possible. Being lost, not possible. Being separated from God, not possible. This bridge between us and the divine, not possible. Now, in antiquity, the gods lived on a mountain top, and they would come visit every once in a while. That was a very different situation. But so maybe that's your God. Maybe God is way out there for you. Well, I'm so sorry about that. But if you say God is omnipresent and omniscient and omnipotent, if God is omnipresence, if God is everywhere fully, evenly present, then there's nowhere else to be. There's nowhere else to be but in God, of God, an expression of God. God is the one thing. God is the one thing, the one substance. And from this universal and eternal Plato is made every single thing. People, animals, trees, birds, everything. Even like the desk I'm sitting at is made from trees. And that tree, of course, is part of the one all. And that one all we call God. So we could call it mind or spirit or, whatever. The words we make them up. But if God is omnipresence, then there's just nothing else. And so atonement is the realization of at-one-ment, that there's just one thing. And if I am at all, then I am that I am. That I am, that we're talking about, it's God. I am that very I am, because there's nothing else. And that's not about being arrogant. That's not about being, puffing up your ego. That's just reminding ourselves that I am part of everything. So ultimately, I'm safe. No matter what's going on, this experience is going to end, but that's not the end of me, because I am part of the endless. I am part of the forever. I'll look different. And that shouldn't be scary, because I look different than I did 10 years ago. I think differently than I did 20 years ago. Once upon a time, I was 24 inches tall. And now I'm 6 feet tall. Like, that's a big change. Once upon a time, I had brown hair with red highlights. That's not me anymore. So there's always, once upon a time, I weighed 155 pounds. That's not me anymore. So there's a new expression, even in this experience of life. So, of course, there's new experiences beyond. That just makes sense to me. So there's this one thing, it expresses differently. The expressions evolve, change, but it's all part of one thing. I still feel like me, even though I'm not a baby anymore, even though I'm not skinny anymore, even though I don't have brown hair anymore, I still am me. And the me that I think I am is basically a construct, but it is a manifestation. It is an expression of the one all. And I see no reason why that should ever end. I assume, as Ernest Holmes did, that it will just keep evolving and expressing in new and different ways, as it has for the last 59 years, and probably has done for the last 59,000 years, and will forever.
Awesome. Thank you. What do you think, Jeff?
I can't help, every time I hear the word omnipresence, I think that every religion espouses that their deity is omnipresent, but some people don't act like it. They've decided to fall prey to thinking that's thousands of years old, and they've never gotten out of that. The idea that there is a force or a personage that could be opposite of God, that could be in opposition to God.
Is that possible?
And we brought this out last week in Genesis 1:1. It says, "In the beginning, God." It doesn't say God and anybody else or anything else. So, when you decide that there is such a thing as a devil or a Satan, what you're doing is you're taking the omniscience and the omnipotence away from the omnipresence. Because if God's not everywhere present, then that means that God is also not all powerful and God is not all knowing, because God is sharing that with something else. But we don't believe that there is anything other than God. And because of that, whenever somebody tells us that we're going to go to hell for believing something or not towing their line, we don't give it too much thought, because we don't accept that. And even if there was such a place as hell, we look at it more as a mental construct. It's our ideas. It's how we express. Even if there was a hell, Scripture says that even God's even there. God's there no matter what. So you got to pick and choose your battles. And I choose not to engage in any kind of theological debate with people who want to insist that there is evil in the world, that there is, and you can't really deny the existence of evil so much as we would tend to see it as a divine expression, an individualized divine expression who has chosen to express poorly, as opposed to being a little more uplifting. So
And I have my moments too that I don't express,
of course,
my innate divinity either.
Or you misexpress, like Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Vader both understand and use the Force, but Darth Vader uses it negatively and harmfully. Mm-hmm. They both understand the principles, but one misapplies them. And that's what we do. When we're at our best, we do it right. And when we're not at our best, we screw up quite a bit.
Yeah.
But the power doesn't care. The power is the power.
Right.
Yeah. And I also refuse to get into one of those conversations with people who, well, what about this? What about that? What about Hitler? What about,
Hitler was an asshole.
Pick your favorite political foe or whatever. They are still expressions of divinity. They're still God coming through, maybe not in the way that we would express it, but they are still children of God, if you want to call it that.
And we see that in the scripture. We see, I mean, these are people telling stories and from their perspective, but a God that will drown an entire Egyptian army. P.S. There are no historical records that happened, but but from the story, a God that will just drown people, is that very unlike the tyrants of history? Now, of course, that didn't happen and whatever, but just because we go off the rails, I've gone off the rails, maybe not to the extent of, Hitler or Stalin or, whatever, or the 45th and 47th president, whatever, maybe not to the extent of some people, but just because I didn't embrace and express and live into my divine potential doesn't mean it's not there. It's still there. It may be buried deeper than it is in, Mother Teresa, who just let it out. But we're part of the one thing. We just have to be, or there's not one thing.
I think one of our biggest challenges, or at least it has been for me, is to look at that person who is expressing negatively, or and just realize that it's still God. Negative does not necessarily mean bad, just like positive doesn't necessarily mean good. If you look at a magnet, it's got a positive and a negative side. It needs both charges in order to be what it is. And positive on a magnet is not good. Negative on a magnet is not bad. It's just, it is what it is. So the challenge is to see that person as, if we want to anthropomorphize God, to see that person the way God sees them. Okay. This stuff is not easy. It's simple. After you get a grasp on the principles, it's simple to understand. Putting it into practice, not always quite so easy, but it's not undoable either.
I have a pretty good example, I think. Okay, we're all there's one thing, and it's divine. It's whole, it's perfect, and it expresses in a zillion different ways. Okay, so I'm part of that. This perfection, this part of the one thing that is only good and all good and forever good, has a bunion. Do you know what I mean? This thing will have sciatica, or this thing was legally blind in one eye and had to have surgery. Now it's fine, but for a while was walking around basically with one functional eye. So it's all good, but it misfires. It doesn't express its perfection. Back of it all, there's wholeness, perfection. But in our experience, just like a nightmare, we experience nightmares, but they're not real. We experience them, we remember them, we wake up in a cold sweat, but it was just a dream. So yes, I'm so good, I'm perfectly good, and I have bouts of sciatica, and my foot hurts sometimes. You know what I mean? So I think that the tyrants of the world and the serial killers and all those horrible things, I think that's God's sciatica. I think that's God's arthritis. I think that's God's flu. That yes, God is perfect, but within the perfection there are misfires. There are experiences that do not reflect the truth. And so yeah, just like maybe I have a bunion. Maybe Jeffrey Dahmer is God's bunion. Doesn't mean it's not God. It just means it's not God expressing fully as God. It's a question, not a prophetic utterance.
Now, if we were to, I'm going to move us on into the next the thing here. If we were to express our godness, our divinity more fully, we would become what Jesus became. And Jesus said to his disciples, the things that I do, you are going to be able to do as well. And what was the biggest miracle, I think, that Jesus accomplished in his earthly ministry was to come to the realization that he was not only human, he was also divine.
Oh, I was going to say bartending. When he turned water into wine. But okay, yours is good too. I like yours too. We'll go with yours.
Okay. He came into his Christedness. if you want, that's a good word to use, is Christedness. Christ is not Jesus's last name, no matter how much people want to argue. It's that impersonal spiritual idea of man that came through infinite mind. And Jesus became that Christ by recognizing and embodying that divine identity. And Jesus itself, as his name, just represents an individual expression of the Christ idea. Just like Jeff is my individual name that expresses my individual expression. We've got the same thing for Durrell, the same thing for Joy, the same thing for everybody. It's a divine idea. The word Christ from the Greek means anointed, or you can even say that it means Messiah. It's the promise of the visible manifestation of I am. And I am is God's name in man. It's the indwelling Christ. It's the true spiritual man that God made in God's image and likeness. So Christ is that one complete idea of the perfect mind, or the perfect man in the perfect divine mind. The embodiment of all the divine ideas that God would have: intelligence, life, love, substance, strength, health. The Christ exists eternally in divine mind. And it's the true spiritual higher self of every individual. And that's a heady thing when you stop to think about it. I remember watching back in the 80s when Shirley MacLaine's miniseries Out on a Limb came out. I went and got the book just to read, what the miniseries didn't cover. But there's a scene where she's standing on the beach with a friend of hers, and they've got their arms out, and he's telling her, just say, I am God. I am God. And for a time, that was very shocking to me, and I think it shocked a lot of people here in the United States. I'm not sure how it was received in other countries, because we were taught that there was that separation between us, and we did not elevate ourselves up to divinity. They had that myth that demons were angels from heaven who fell because they tried to, equate themselves with God. Mm-hmm. And even Paul, when he was talking about Jesus, he said, let the mind be in you that was in Christ Jesus, because he didn't think it was robbing God to put himself equal to God, because we are equal to God. We are not the whole of God. We are just that essence of God. But what God is, we are. And so we are able to say, I am God. We are the I am. And when we are able to comfortably embrace that and say that about ourselves, that Christ nature that has been inside waiting to appear, it shows up. This is not a one and done thing, by the way. Yeah, we have to continually unify ourselves with the highest of our thoughts and words. We have to continually remember, I am. Yeah. One of my favorite mantras whenever I'm meditating is, God is, I am.
Nice. Yeah, I like that.
In my prayer class, I teach various formulas. And of course, the 6th step includes denial, but the 5 step doesn't do denial. And it's more like the science of mind 5-step treatment. And a model of that is, God is, I am, it's all good, hot damn, peace out. That's the prayer. That's the 5-step. God is, I am, it's all good, hot damn, peace out. And I had a friend who took the class, and when she went in, she had polyps, and they were, wonky or whatever, and they had to be removed or whatever. And she said that was the prayer she went into surgery with. She went in completely fearless, and of course, it all turned out all right. But that was actually her prayer. God is, I am, it's all good, hot damn, peace out. Yeah. And that's God is, I am what God is. I am the wave is not the entire ocean, but the wave is nothing but ocean. Do you know what I mean? And exactly. That's us. That's us.
Yeah. I came to discover a few days ago a metaphysician I'd never heard of before called, his name was Thomas Parker Boyd. I don't know.
Yes, he was Episcopalian.
Yes, you had talked about him before. And so I did a little bit more research on it. He founded the Society of the Healing Christ, which used psychology to help bring about physical healing. But one of the things that he said was, I am because God is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Nice. And I really appreciate that Jesus, our master teacher, modeled the divinity as well as his humanity. Yet he, according to scriptures, he had moments too where he was frustrated, angry at different people, and stood up for other people that were disenfranchised in society, those that had past that or their lifestyle. It didn't matter. He was their advocate and he expressed that divine and saw them as they really were, not their circumstance, but he recognized their divinity as well. He didn't have a special power that we don't have. He was more practiced, I guess, and expressing it. And he just realized that his at one-ment with this Christ, this divinity, which we all have within ourselves.
Oh, well, he had it easier to do than we do. He didn't have to put up with traffic and these a-holes cut you off and
go to the store with coupons.
Writing a check.
Christian. He didn't have to deal with a single Christian. That made his life easier right off the bat.
Very good.
It's true. Well, speaking of Jesus, we grew up hearing is the Son of God. Mm-hmm. True enough, but not uniquely. We're all the children of God, right? In fact, Messiah, the anointed one, every king was anointed to be king. The prophet of God anointed the king. Every king was Messiah. Mm-hmm. And he was meant to be when they said he was the Messiah. That's why he got in trouble, because Messiahs were anointed warrior kings. So to be the anointed one is to suggest you're trying to raise an army and go independent and have your own thing apart from the empire, without the empire's approval. And that's why the charge against him is on the cross, INRI. That does not mean I'm nailed right in. That is actually the Latin Latin letters for Jesus Christ, Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews, INRI, and INRI. And so that's the charge against him, is that he either claims to be a king, not a vassal king approved by Caesar, but he's either claiming to be a king or people are trying to make him a king and he's not telling them to quit it. In fact, he comes into Jerusalem riding on a little donkey, not a steed, not a grand steed like the Romans. He comes riding a little donkey and people are waving palms and saying, blessed is the one who comes in the name of our God. Yes. And they're giving him a hero's welcome, like a conquering hero, like a king coming back from battle who's won. They're treating him like that at this back gate, while during Passover, there is a state-approved celebration going on where there are Roman chariots and horses and all this. It's a way that Rome lets Jerusalem celebrate their Jewish heritage while also controlling it. Mm-hmm. Because what Passover is we escaped the empire. We gave Pharaoh the middle finger, stole everything we get our hands on, and hauled ass. That's Passover, right? And so they're celebrating Passover. Well, you don't want people to celebrate we got away from the empire if you're the empire. So they control it. They allow it, but they control it. And so the temple is in league with the empire. All the celebrations are like state approved. And in the back, the little gate, here comes this country illiterate peasant prophet riding in on a little donkey. And people are acting like he's a conquering hero, like he's a king. That was the first Then he gets to the temple. It's a pilgrimage. It's Passover. And he sees people profiting off pilgrims. They are, because you can't take your money with Caesar's face on it into the temple because there can be no graven images. It's a Jewish temple. So you have to exchange your money for something for temple money that doesn't have an image on it. But of course, just like the money exchange people at the airport, they charge you for the privilege. So these people are setting up a business off of faithful pilgrims. Also, your sacrifice, depending on how much money you have. If you're poor, you have like turtle doves. But if you're rich, you have like a lamb or a goat or a ram or something. And so, but if you're bringing your sheep from God knows where, days and days and days, it's going to be dirty and tired. But your sacrifice has to be spotless. So they'll sell you a sacrifice on the spot. Don't drag your little lamb all the way from out from the outback. Just come here and we'll sell you one. Now, this isn't to benefit the temple. This isn't benefiting ministry. These are just private businesses who set up shop in front of the temple. We'll sell you a lamb. We'll even sell you turtle doves if you need to do it on the cheap. And we'll exchange your money so you can give donations to the temple for a fee. Jesus sees that and loses his shit. He has a fit and falls in it. He can't stand it. And he acts out. The temple, though, is like approved by the empire. It's actually, it's like the post office. It's like if you went and started with a sledgehammer, started hitting mailboxes and windows, you'd be arrested, probably never see the light of day again. That's what Jesus is doing when he throws a fit at the temple. And somehow the temple guards, they don't know what to do with it. They let it go. I think this is what sealed Jesus' fate. Okay, so next thing you know, he's on trial and he's executed and whatever. And our experience is that wasn't the end of the story. But that is what's happening on the just human, physical level. Now, what made him think he could do that? Nobody else did that. What made him think he could stand up to the Roman government? What made him think that he could stand up for people that no one had ever stood up for? What made him think that he could advocate for the people who were tormented, who were trying to be erased, who their voice was taken away, they were dehumanized? Because he thought, and rightly so, that he was one with God. And that everyone is God's children, and God, if God were an individual, would not want any of her children mistreated. And so Jesus acts like the mother who takes discipline and say, I'm going to protect my kid, and you can't treat my kid this way. And next thing you know, we're at Golgotha. Now, Jesus's awareness of that, though, is, I meant to read right from Fanny James, and I think I'm going to run out of time, so just go with what I'm doing. In the Bible, it shows the development of this. Writing before the Gospels is Paul. Paul's writing from like 49 to 64. And so in Romans 1, in the beginning, you see Jesus ascending. He survived somehow or come back to life after crucifixion, and he's ascending into the presence of God. And that ascension is when he becomes the child of God, right? Now, Mark is writing about 70, right in the wake of the destruction of the temple. In Mark, he becomes the Son of God at his baptism. The Spirit descends upon him and says, this is my child with whom I'm well pleased. He goes right into the desert. He battles his doubts and whatever, and then goes off with this amazing ministry. In Mark and Luke, he becomes the child of God in utero. The Spirit somehow moves while Mary is pregnant to make him the child of God. That is not the same as the Spirit impregnating her. But the Spirit does make her fetus the child of God. And then in John, we see from the beginning, but that's still not eternity. Eternity has no beginning and no end. So from the beginning, so there's still a start, but from the start of something, way back when, Jesus is the child of God, or the Christ exists and then is expressed through Jesus way later, whatever. So as scripture goes on, Jesus becomes the Son of God earlier and earlier and earlier. So there's this development of thought about it, and it shows that there's a development in his life of when he realized it and expressed it. Jesus grew into his Christness. Jesus is a person like you and me, but he became somehow so fully human, so perfectly human, so exactly human, so authentically human, he expressed divinity. He became so aware as a wave. He became so aware of his complete unity with the ocean that he expressed ocean. And that then becomes not the exception to humanity, but the example of what we're all meant to do. He is the example, not the exception. And just like he grew into the awareness that he is one with the one, that there's just one all and he's part of it. And once you are aware of that, you can live in more power. You can have so much power, you can confront empires. Well, what if they kill you? Well, what if you don't stay dead? I mean, you know what I mean? Like that is a special consciousness which he grew into. And because he did, we can. Because there's one all. And if it happened once, it can happen over and over and over again.
And he didn't forget it either. That's the thing. We can have tastes of what it's like to embrace our divinity. And then something will come along and will knock us out of that place, and we go back to being our human self again. But we are all progressing. Some of us quick, some of us not so quick, but we're all progressing, and we will eventually, every one of us. And I like to look at the world as God's Montessori school. We get do-overs. We get as many do-overs as it takes for us to
cannot fail.
Yeah, you cannot fail. And we will get to where we're headed. There's no, you can't not.
I like the scripture in the Old Testament, every knee shall bow. And to me, that means that we will surrender to the essence, to who and what we are. Eventually, all of us will. That's our goal, our mission, our purpose, right, to express that.
Yeah.
And not literally bowing, but to surrender. Yeah.
I decrease that the divine may increase.
Yes.
Which just means my ego fades more so that my truth can be more expressive.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So that's what we teach.
That's what we teach. And it's very empowering. And it's not, it's not woogie, and it's just thinking about things and thinking through it. Like, we don't stop. Some people stop because, well, this is what the church said, or the creed said, or the tradition says, or my granny said. We don't stop there. We just keep, look, I don't know if you can see behind me, but it says Divine Science Everywhere, Science, Religion, and Philosophy. Science is investigation, religion is creativity, and philosophy is questions. And so that's what we are. We investigate, and we're creative with our, with the process, and we never run out of questions. That's what divine science is. And so we're never going to be satisfied with dogma. That stops way too soon. And so we just keep going. And because of that, we discover more and more and more of the divine, not only around us, but also within us and as us.
Absolutely. And I like the idea of our philosophy, our belief system looks at the divinity within everyone, not in separation, and ideally not focusing on the differences, but embracing, and knowing that each of us are on our own path. As the saying goes, we're all walking each other home. Yes. And yes, and as you mentioned, religion, religio, to bind together. I like the concept that we're all bound together, expressing ourselves, and we're here to hold each other up, to hold each other accountable, hold ourselves accountable. And the I guess the trick is to not hold ourselves and each other accountable through shame, but rather through love.
Yeah. And these are very empowering and unique conversations in the world of religion. And so if this is useful to yourself or your center or your study group or whatever, please please share, please tell people about it, put the link in an email, send it to your 10 best friends or whatever. These are conversations that super need to happen, and they're happening right here. Now, speaking of right here, I need to remind you that this is Divine Science Everywhere on New Thought Media Network.
New Thought Media Network is excited to present Divine Science Everywhere, Fridays at 2 p.m. Mountain Time and 4 p.m. Eastern. Come explore a modern experience of divine science. With Reverend Joy Fletcher, Reverend Jeff Radcliff, and Bishop Durrell Watkins. Join us as we open our eyes to divine science everywhere we look. Fridays on New Thought Media Network.
Welcome back. Welcome back. As we've really enjoyed this conversation today and hope that it sparks something within you and that you can keep coming back, like and share. Next week, we are rebroadcasting an episode with Linda Martella-Wissett. And we're really excited about that. She's just great, and we really enjoyed her guest spot, and I'm sure that you will enjoy it too. And the following Friday, Bishop Durrell is our featured guest, if you will, and that will be really, really fun. And then the following Friday is Reverend Suzanne Carter, a Unity minister. And the next week, we will be talking about the metaphysical principles of Christmas and the holidays. And then we are rebroadcasting our episode with Raymond Anderson. And I know that you will enjoy that as well. So please keep coming back, and we have lots of great guests and things planned for the new year. So until we meet again, remember that this is divine science everywhere. And remember that divine science, omnipresence, is in all, through all, and as all. And we're here on New Thought Media Network. Bye-bye.
Bye, y'all.